What's up, my dudes? So I wanted to get on here and talk about the future of PUBG and kind of some of the things I want to see on it and some of the different things I think they could add into it in 2019 that would really help the game and just kind of where the game's going overall, because I think it's in an interesting state right now where it's kind of like a lot of people have quit playing it, but there still is a lot of hardcore fans that are playing it. Some people have quit playing it for a little while and then now come back to it now that they're getting tired of, Call of Duty Blackout. And then when Apex Legends starts kind of died a little bit more, I feel like PUBG just has its own sort of place that you always sort of feel like you can come back to. It's because it is so different than any of those other battle royales out there. I mean, it honestly is. It's so different. That's the big thing about PUBG that keeps that sort of belief in my mind that it's going to last for quite a lot longer time and not just totally die out and no one's even playing it, right? Like, I honestly feel like it's going to last quite a bit of time because when it comes to battle royales, you have two different kind of battle royales, okay? You have more of the realistic high gun recoil, weapon sway, more like an actual, more simulator combat style shooter game, all right? So you've got those kind of battle royales, and then you have the arcade shooter battle royales that are more like really low recoil on the weapons, pretty much no weapon sway at all, jumping around, a lot more silly stuff going on, like, you're going to have, like, little power stuff and more crazy weapons and crazy vehicles and all that kind of stuff. So that's the two kind of battle royales out there, okay? And the thing about it is I feel like PUBG is really the only one that is doing the more realistic simulator, as if you were somehow able to just send, 100 people into a certain area in real life and actually have them all try to do like a real life battle royale, picking up real guns, real AKs, real M4s, more realistic bullet drop, more realistic bullet velocity, all that kind of stuff, more realistic health. That whole kind of side of it, more realistic graphical look to everything. I feel like PUBG is that, whereas all of those other ones are kind of in a whole nother category, so they're not replacing PUBG. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not like Blackout is ever going to replace PUBG, because it's not even like that at all, right? It's a totally different kind of game. It's Call of Duty gun mechanics, which you guys know are way more arcadey, and they've been known for that forever. I mean, they're not even as realistic as, like, Battlefield gun mechanics and movement and stuff like that. Call of Duty's got it's always had that kind of feeling, that more, really sharp, arcadey, oh my god, almost died right here, really sharp arcadey movement, quick turn, high frames per second. Call of Duty's known for that, which has its own kind of feeling and the reason why people like that. But what I'm trying to get at is it's not PUBG. It's not trying to be a simulator shooter. It's not super realistic bullet drop, even though there is a little bit in Call of Duty. But to be honest, there's not a whole lot of recoil on the weapons in Call of Duty Blackout. When you're shooting something full auto, there's really not. Whereas on PUBG, if you put 4 times on an AK, like, that shit will literally kick to the moon and back, and you're dragging your mouse off the mouse pad to try to keep it level, like a real gun would be like in real life. So that's what I'm saying. It's not really like you're going to think that, I mean, I don't know any other way to explain it. Same with like Apex Legends. It's more of an arcadey shooter, right? It's not a super realistic shooter. In Ring of Elysium, basically little to no gun recoil, absolutely zero weapon sway in Ring of Elysium, even though it's basically a lot of the very, very similar mechanics to PUBG and the way you loot stuff and everything about it, but it's just more of an arcadey PUBG. It's just more of an unrealistic arcadey type game. So I don't see Ring of Elysium ever taking over PUBG, because it's not really like a full-blown combat simulator shooter, right? And that's, a lot of you guys aren't getting that in your head until you get another battle royale game that is literally like full-blown Arma, super realistic simulator shooter, super realistic bullet drop. Until you get another big one like that that's got a lot of content, a lot of maps, a lot of weapons, a lot of different stuff you can do, then you're not going to be able to just totally kill out PUBG. You're not. You're not going to be able to do it. I mean, I'm sorry to break you guys, and obviously Fortnite is like the complete other spectrum, so it's not going to totally, you know, kill PUBG. I think it's just one of those things where, you know, a game like Fortnite, everybody and their grandmother can play it and get kills on it, and it's on every single platform, and it runs really well on every single platform because it's not like super high graphic, you know, really intense on your console or PC. And like I'm saying, on top of that, it's not hard to get into a game like Apex Legends or Fortnite or even Blackout. Blackout may be a little bit harder to get into, but not crazy, whereas PUBG, it's like, you got to be able to, if you're playing it on PC, you got to be able to go in there and totally set up your sensitivities really accurately to what your skill level is, or the guns are going to kick to Texas and you're not going to be able to control anything. You're not going to be able to get on target. There's a lot more tryhards on PUBG because of it having that more realistic kind of feeling. You know, you really got to know what you're doing shooting people in PUBG, and you got to know your surroundings. There's a lot of things to PUBG that really separates it from a lot of these other battle royales. And I think it's kind of like it's a curse and a blessing, and that's why you see these massive numbers of people playing games like Fortnite and games like Apex Legends and stuff. It's not that those games are just better. A lot of you people like try to kind of make that argument, like, well, that game's just better because there's way more people playing it. No, dog. It's just more for the mass audience. That's all there is to it. But PUBG has way more of a realistic shooter bullet drop. I mean, like with Apex Legends and, you know, games like Ring of Elysium and stuff like that, the bullet drop is actually quite laughable. I mean, the whole bullet drop, it's almost like super cartoon in Ring of Elysium and Apex Legends. I mean, yes, it's there. There is bullet drop, but it's not like, you know, realistic projectile. There's just something about PUBG. The gun mechanics and the shooting, I don't know how to explain it. There's a magic to it, dude. There is something to it that no other battle royale out there can capture right now. So it has that whole realistic combat, almost like a simulator shooter battle royale on lockdown right now. Nothing else is competing with PUBG in that category. It's just not. It's not, and I don't know any other way to explain it. It's just not doing it. Now it's got 4 maps on it, completely different biomes, tons of different vehicles, tons of different weapons. It's got the whole skin system getting worked into it now as well. So you got skins on the guns. You got a lot more like ranking level up systems. You got stuff like that going on. And it's just there's just a magic to PUBG that when you get in there 4-man squad and you're all in the thick of the battle, you feel like you've been sitting there just shooting at different squads for, you know, the whole match, and you're like still alive and you make it to the very end. PUBG just has that ability to, I don't know, it just takes it to another level realism-wise in your head, and that's what makes it just so amazing in that sense. So for the future of PUBG, I don't really see the whole, like, it's just going to die out. I really don't see it. But a couple things I think that would really fit into PUBG pretty well. And this may piss off a couple people, but let me kind of explain myself here. Okay. I think it needs certain more fun style weapons to it, but I still think they need to keep that full-blown realistic and balance that PUBG is known for in that sense, right? So let's just say they could add a flamethrower weapon that obviously going to be box drop only and pretty rare in the box, but I think that would add so much fun to the game, make it like a realistic flamethrower in the game where it's not, you can't just like totally wreck everybody in 2 seconds. It's almost kind of like the, you know, when you throw a Molotov, but it only has a certain distance of how far you can shoot the flamethrower, and you can't just shoot it for infinity. There's got to be some kind of way where it kind of like overheats, or you have a way to refuel it with the gas cans or something. That'd be crazy if you could do it like that. You know, it would have to have an ammo system to it, but just keep it somewhat balanced, but keep it fun to where you could just run into a building and just start flaming everywhere around you, and it's like you threw a bunch of Molotovs in there, right? Don't make it like instantly kill people like it does, like the flamethrower kill streaks do in Call of Duty. I think that would be way overkill. That's not what I'm talking about. but just have more of that realistic flamethrower. It'd be so cool to see something like that in PUBG, and I think it could actually have a really cool place in the game, as long as it's not overpowered. Same way with the rocket launcher conversation. I know a lot of people are like, oh, fuck that, Spencer. We don't want a rocket launcher in PUBG. We don't want that, you know, instantly shoot a rocket launcher, boom, you blow up and instantly die, and you don't even know where it came from. You know, kind of like an instant kill weapon, right? But let me explain the whole rocket launcher side of it, okay? I think the rocket launcher should be where it is... To kill somebody with the rocket launcher, you damn near have to shoot like at their feet, okay? I'm talking right on their feet or right on their body with the rocket launcher to actually kill them in one shot. I think it should almost be like you're throwing a grenade, but not quite, maybe not quite the blast radius. I don't know exactly how they would do that. Not quite the blast radius, but obviously make the rocket launcher super rare, make it to where it only comes with like, you know, 1 or 2 rockets that you could shoot out of it, so it's not like a crazy amount of ammo. And it's one of those things that if you shoot it off in the distance like an RPG, it really needs to kind of have a weird little flight path when you shoot it, where it's not going to go like laser beam directly where you're shooting it. I think it obviously needs the drop at a distance, like heavy drop, rocket launcher drop at a distance, but also where it's going to kind of go in a squirrely pattern where it's not going to shoot anywhere near where you're actually aiming it. So it's one of those things like that. But they literally could add a rocket launcher and a hell, they could even add a grenade launcher and a flamethrower in a way into PUBG where it's balanced. They could do that. I'm just telling you guys, they could do that if they wanted to, and it would actually add a whole lot of fun to the game. I know it brings back some nightmarish level thoughts and stuff like that when you think about, you know, noob tubes in Call of Duty and flamethrowers in Call of Duty and rocket launchers in some of these games where they're just instant kill, you know, kind of cheating weapons. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't mean make it like that. I mean make it super balanced, super realistic, where it's actually hard to get, pretty hard to get a kill with it. Those are more so just like, the rocket launcher is more so of a taking out a vehicle type, you know, combat situation. It's more of an anti-vehicle weapon, more so than an infantry weapon. By the way, I just got a kill with that grenade right there. That was badass, boy. Behind this, like, wow, that was pretty sick. But you know, and it's more of a, like having a grenade launcher and a flamethrower and a rocket launcher, shooting that at infantry is not so much like a one-hit kill, one kill, you know, insta-kill kind of weapon. It's more so of a suppressive, you know, kind of like when you're just throwing flashbangs or throwing grenades that are close to people. Like, it's not just going to instantly kill them. I mean, if you're worried about having a rocket launcher in PUBG, then you might as well take all the grenades out of it, because if you have 5 frag grenades and you get into a mid-range battle with somebody and you just start, you know, clicking them, click, click, click grenades off one after another, and they're even somewhat decently placed where you're throwing them, you're going to take people out all day long behind rocks and trees. And so, I mean, like I'm saying, if you make the rocket launcher rare enough, I think it'll be okay. So that's kind of the weapons side of it. And obviously, I think that something that'd really be cool map-wise, the next map I think they really need to add is obviously a full-blown night map. I know they kind of played around with it a little bit with the Northern Lights on the snow map, but I think they need to go in there and make a full-blown, you know, kind of like pitch black, dark, where you, and then you add in all the flashlight attachments, potentially night vision out of crates, you know, thermal scopes out of crates or something. Like, you know, you go down that road where it's actually really hard to see people. Not like the whole map, even though it is night, it's all lit up by the northern lights and the moon and stuff. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about full-blown dark map, okay? But obviously in your little compounds and towns and stuff like that, it would have lights on them, so you can kind of play around that and kind of have, like, you know, little sneaky little combat missions where you can sneak into compounds and slay people in the dark, but obviously it's lit up in the compounds, and maybe random places do have lights. So I'm not saying make the entire map pitch black, but just the places that aren't in the compounds, make those pretty dark where you got to have a flashlight going. That would be so awesome for PUBG and make it just on a whole nother experience level in that kind of sense. And I think they need to go in there and make another map that's actually a super dense jungle map, right? I know they already kind of made a jungle map with Sandhog, but I think they need to go in there and make one that's really thick bush, you know, over your head grass and bushes and high canopy trees, more so like a literal tropical rainforest map, like Vietnam, tropical rainforest. This is more... Sandhawk is more like you kind of mixed a standard woodland, plainsy type vibe with that tropical vibe. So there is still a lot of a very open... Sandhawk was nowhere near as dense and thick woods, thick grass, bush as I thought it would have been. Nowhere near. So I still think there's a place for that on PUBG in that kind of sense. But yeah, that's a couple of things I think that they could add to it, and it would certainly help the game out quite a bit. And there's a couple other things too as well that make it kind of fun, you know, more vehicles, stuff like that, an actual dirt bike on some of the normal maps. I know they added a snow bike, which is kind of weird how they add a snow bike before they add a dirt bike. I know they have motorcycles, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a literal dirt bike in the game where you can really jump over shit and really control it on the grass and jumping and doing that kind of stuff. I think that'd be a lot cool. And a change I think they should make is making the one aspect of PUBG that I think is a little bit janky right now and a little bit weird is the shooting out of vehicles. That is like super difficult, way too difficult, way more difficult than it needs to be. I mean, the odds of you actually shooting someone out of a vehicle when you're in the vehicle, right? You're like riding around with your buddies and they're driving and you're in the vehicle and trying to aim out of it with your gun and actually kill somebody. That's like a 1 in a million chance just because of how much it actually shakes your aiming around when you're riding in the vehicle. I think it's a little bit extreme in PUBG, and I think they also need to make it to where you can, when you're aiming out of your vehicle with a weapon, you can be like not actually aiming down the sights. You can't do that right now. You can't actually aim out of a vehicle without aiming down your sights. So it makes it where it's like really hard to kill somebody that's mid-range when you're driving by. I think they need to lower how much it actually like sways your weapon around when you're aiming out of a window of a vehicle, and they need to let you kind of like no-scope shoot out of the side of a vehicle as well. I think both of those things would be massive for the game, you know, vehicle combat shooting-wise and stuff like that, and that'd be really cool. But it's going to be awesome to see the future maps that are going to come out for this game. And I'm definitely really excited to see that. But just wanted to come on here and kind of talk about it a little bit. Wow, they're shooting me while I was down, boy. Shooting me while I was totally dead. Saw the blood splurting there. So, but then obviously, it goes into the even more future aspect of it. You think about, would they, you know, potentially add a 5-man squad mode to PUBG? I think that would be badass and a half. I think that would be awesome to have 5-man squads in here. I think once you start going like 6, 7-man squads, that's a little bit ridiculous, but I certainly think they could get away with making a full-blown 5-man squad permanent mode in the game, not just like the random, you know, little random like challenge modes that they have for just a short, limited period of time. I'm talking about like, you know, solos, duos, squad, 4-man, and then 5-man squads, I think should be how PUBG is in that sense, and that would be another really cool addition. Could you imagine the gunfights of the 5-man squad? That'd be awesome, dude. It'd be more like an actual warfare, more like a, you know, more like an actual war than just a small little squad. So either way, dudes, that's my opinion on it. And then they may work into putting more game modes. Like, I think it would be cool to have a team deathmatch mode in PUBG where it's, you know, you're in a smaller area of the map and they just kind of cut off random areas of their already pre-made Battle Royale maps in there and just throw you in there and have team deathmatch modes where you can respawn, pick your weapon. That'd be kind of cool. I think they could play around with that in the future as well, you know, adding more modes and stuff like that too. But it has so much potential, and it has the core of the more realistic shooting movement mechanics and all that, that I see so much of a future for this game still to this day, because it's so deep in the actual combat mechanics of it that it's just second to none to most of the other, you know, shooters out there right now. It really is. Especially when you start talking about the more arcadey ones. They're just completely different. So either way, dudes, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later.